Give me the reasons, please, for quitting the Labor Party.
Well, Keir, it's certainly not about personality differences or any political aspects of that manner. It's about restrictions on being a powerful advocate for Cairns and far north Queensland. So certainly some people might not realise how Parliament works, but if I go down there and I'm told how to vote, I'm told when and what I can speak about, and the questions that I can ask of ministers are written and put in front of me. That doesn't really constitute fantastic representation for the people of Cairns. So however long I have left in this Parliament, I'd certainly like to be speaking out powerfully and strongly for Cairns and far north Queensland, which I feel has been an area that's had quite historic neglect from all levels of government.
You described the government as having lost its way, Rob Pyne. On what issues has it lost its way?
Oh, look, there's a number of issues. I think some of the big multinational companies and the mining companies have quite an unhealthy influence, and that's seen as a pro-economic development agenda, but I certainly don't see it as either economically, socially or environmentally sustainable when you're looking at projects like Adani Mine that fail at every level in terms of digging up more coal to create more coral bleaching, and of course the Abbott Point initiative. And I say that because a number of cities up and down the coast have accepted quite reasonable limitations on port development, and you can't expect that and then say, but hey, Abbott Point's fine. So that sort of policy inconsistency grates on me a little bit. But, you know, there's also issues around coal seam gas and whatnot. But for me, it's primarily issues in the Cairns electorate. So that's what I want to have when I complete this term in government. It's about overcrowded facilities at Trinity Bay State High School, an undercover assembly area at Cairns State High School, level crossings in Kate Street and Draper Street. It's about an upgraded boat ramp in Tingara Street. And I certainly want to finish my term in government with a lot of ticks next to those projects.
You say that it's not about personality issues, but you did take concerns about corruption in local government to the Deputy Premier, and they were pretty comprehensively dismissed, Rob Pyne. As Lawrence Springborg described it there, perhaps a disrespectful treatment by Jackie Trad. Did it have anything to do with influencing your decision?
Oh, look, when I'm presenting cases that hold water in terms of the fact of complaints to the CCC, less than 2% are actually investigated by the CCC, and 98% are referred to the perpetrator to investigate, whether it's the local council or other statutory authorities. When we're talking about the fact that council candidates are allowed to accept donations from property developers and then vote in favour of those property developers, sometimes without even declaring a conflict of interest, I think that grates on most people. So I'm just a bit upset that those issues certainly couldn't have been looked at on their merits and not with regards to the politics of personality, which is what seems to dominate in Brisbane.
What about the relationship with the Premier and the Premier's office, Rob Pyne? Has that broken down?
No. Look, I've got a lot of respect for Anastasia and the way she carries herself. She's certainly a person who's always, been quite honest and open in her dealings with me. And I guess the only thing I would say, instead of looking into things and actually getting back to me on things, I'd love to have some outcomes. So, I guess that's one thing. I don't seek to damage the government, but I do want this government to govern, and I look forward to that happening.
I don't know if you've heard the comments by Craig Crawford, the Labor member for Barron River. He described himself, Rob Pyne, as being disgusted on hearing the news and said essentially he doesn't believe you'll vote with the government on issues of supply and confidence.
Well, that's fine for Craig to do that, and Craig's very happy to be a deputy speaker and pursuing a political career. I'm sure he'll be a minister one day. That's not what I'm all about. I'm about delivering real outcomes for the people of Cairns.
And Billy Gordon, independent member for Cook, and I'm quoting here, says that you've become all the more powerful as a result of doing this. What's your response to hearing him say that?
Well, my response to Billy Gordon, as it is to the Katter Party representatives, is let's get together and work for the benefits of the far north, whether it's new school facilities at Trinity Bay State High School or a new hospital in Atherton. Let's work together and make sure our region benefits from these numbers, because it's an opportunity we may not get again.
Now, of course, many people will be wondering why support the government in questions of confidence and supply if you're as upset with them in terms of the lack of positive treatment by them, Rob Pyne.
Well, certainly I didn't run for Parliament to have the LNP placed in government, that's for sure. And the point I will make to you, and that I think resonates, is whether it's Queenslanders or Australians, when they elect a government, they're sick and tired of parliaments, politicians or any factions changing leaders midstream. So Anastasia Palaszczuk was sworn in as the Premier of the 55th Parliament. She should remain for the term of the 55th Parliament, and Lawrence Springborg and other people are perfectly legitimate in persecuting their case at the next election.
Is there a situation here, though, where you're offering the opportunity for the LNP to play wedge politics, essentially, to offer up legislation that you will feel forced to want to support? Well,
look, it is unfortunate that wedge politics is all I see down there. You know, I sit in the crossbenches and I see Labor on one side and Liberal on the other, whether it's Jackie Trad or Jared Blay. It is really disappointing, you know. Wouldn't it be great if people of goodwill were prepared to work together instead of everything being about the political game?
Are you concerned, though, that the increase in instability that this will cause will have major repercussions right across the state? I mean, I'm just thinking of confidence within the business sector alone.
Well, no, I think most people would understand that that's not the case. You've got 42 members of either major party. You've got the two Qd Party and two crossbenchers who've expressed support in the Premier. And if that's not enough, they've got the casting vote of the Speaker. So I just regard that as a furphy.
How long have you planned to become an independent for, Rob Pyne?
Oh, look, you know, these sort of things, you don't do it till you've done it. So obviously I've been unhappy and I've thought about it. But, you know, it was last few days I've said, no, this isn't good enough.
Right, so you can say you didn't go into Parliament thinking that this was something that would occur.
Look, I think no one can doubt that I've done my very best to make this work and to deliver the best outcomes for Cairns as a part of that party structure.
When did it first come up as an idea, Rob Pyne? It's been circulating for more than a few days, hasn't it, Rob Pyne?
Oh, look, last year I was getting frustrated and I, you know, in that extent, what Lawrence said is true. I was getting very frustrated last year and wanting to make a difference. But, you know, when push comes to shove, you've got to make a call. And my call is to spend the rest of my time in Parliament speaking out for our city without fear or favour and without being second-guessed by politicians in Brisbane.
Do you think it's actually going to make it easier or less easy to garner funding for big projects in Cairns?
Well, I think it will make it easier. I think it's dependent on, as I say, the Qd Party people and the crossbenchers all getting together and, you know, maybe Mr Crawford, the member for Barron River, could become a bit more concerned with delivering infrastructure such as the Corinda Range and the Captain Cook Highway. And if he's prepared to do that as well, we could deliver good outcomes for the far north.
How do you expect your constituency will react to this news? Do you expect to be punished at the next election because people did vote in a Labor Party member?
Oh, look, everyone seems happy. My supporters are happy because they know what I stand for and the values I represent. And my critics are happy because they reckon I'm gone. So, you know, universal acceptance.
All right, so is it going to be business as usual, as the Premier has said? What communication have you had with her? What communication do you plan to have with her?
Well, there's a number of projects that the Premier is looking into for me. They include everything from enhanced lighting at Barlow Park so games can be televised, through to funding for the Manura Community Centre and employment and training opportunities for people in West Cairns. So there's a whole lot of things that the Premier's certainly listening to me about and that her ministers have pledged to follow up. So I'll certainly be following them up from my end.
And can I just ask finally when that meeting might occur? When might there be a bit of face-to-face with Anastasia Palaszczuk?
The next sitting week when I'm in Brisbane.
Okay. Rob Pyne, thank you so much for coming in this morning.
Thank you, Keir.